Welcome to Winning with Data-Driven Marketing Podcast. This podcast is brought to you by Was.ai Market Research. I'm Julie, your host in this podcast, and in every single episode, we talk to industry leaders, marketers, and growth experts in Asia about how they use data to enhance the ROI in their marketing activities. We bring you real case studies while giving you background on how these leaders build their career to where they are today. We'll bring you to our speaker shortly after a quick word from our sponsor. Was.ai Market Research is an AI-powered digital research platform that can help you understand your target customer as quick as 24 hours from as low as $1,000. For those who are having questions about what your target customer think about your brand, your ads, or your product, you are guaranteed reliable findings that can help you build better branding, advertising campaign, and launch a more successful product. Find out more at www.vase.ai. It's www.vase.ai and use promo code PODCAST to get your first 10% off. Now, back to the show. Joining me today is Sheznie, currently Marketing and Corporate Communications Manager for Hong Leong MSIG Takaful. She has over 28 years of experience in technology development, retail management, branding strategy communications, and has headed brand and marketing departments in Fortune 500 companies such as Petronas, YTL, and Habituals. She has also worked for Walmart, Citibank, and Academy of Art in San Francisco. Sheznie, welcome for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Julie, for inviting me to talk here today. I hope that I'll be able to impart my 30-year experience in marketing and branding.
Sheznie, you have more than 30 years in marketing and branding. What inspired you to pursue a career in this space?
Well, actually, it happened quite naturally when I was out of university in California. I had just finished a 1-year, they call it optional practical training, and it was with Walmart. Walmart is like the biggest retailer in the world, and I had done a 1-year training with them as a manager in San Jose, California. In the Melvita store, and basically, going out from that job of managing 100 people in the store, and then going into a marketing. My first marketing job was with Academy of Art San Francisco. So I moved from San Jose, San Francisco to start my first marketing, endeavor. I didn't have any experience in marketing at all. My second job in marketing was with a branding company. We were more a consulting firm. So we actually rebranded a lot of brands, and some of the brands included Petronas, SME Bank, Sepang International Circuit, MBSB, and all the big, conglomerates that we had the privilege of rebranding their brands to make them into a bigger brand. So, with Petronas, I went in when they were at the cusp of trying to figure out how to make their retail arm into a number one retail arm. They were number 3, so Shell and BP were ahead of them in terms of Petronas retail. So when I talk about retail, it'll be their retail stations, Emulsion Store, Primax, all the brands that are hitting all the consumers. So basically, they were having a tough time trying to outcompete their competitors. So Shell and BP were hit. So the CEO said, you know what? We want to be the brand of first choice. So, and if you have a vision of being the brand of first choice, you got to figure out, what does the consumer really want? So basically, when we went in, we audited, we call it a brand audit. And we went down to even the nitty-gritty of looking at how the stations were, looking at why people would choose Petronas compared to Shell and BP. And the main thing was, people didn't really know the difference between the petrol stations, really. I mean, whichever petrol station that is nearest is the petrol station that they will usually go. Because they don't really, petrol is petrol, right? Only difference is that maybe, my mom, my dad used to put Petronas. So so I followed, so it's a legacy thing. So, generations will use Petronas because, maybe their grandparents or parents were using Petronas brand. The other thing is, it could be, because, last time Petronas petrol stations were combined with the oil change service. Like you would go in and do an oil change. And they would say that, Petronas oil change, no one actually pushes the Synthium oil because it was too expensive. And it wasn't benefiting the people who were changing the oil because we weren't giving them enough commission for pushing the brand. So simple things like that we didn't know in the HQ. They didn't know. That was brand questions that they should have asked their customers, because they would do, right? Of course, everybody would do a market survey every year to find out how their brand is performing, but they don't do it in a way that what really matters to the customers, So we did a very extensive audit. We told them you needed 50 people in your brand department, and we need you to revamp everything A to Z about your brand, because you want to outcompete Shell, BP, who are the giants, right? So, and one of the major things was looking at their current brand portfolio, which was Premax, Synthium. So we needed a very good agency to be able to craft out the story, the advertising. So we did a pitch with the big advertising companies, and we brought in Leo Burnett. And that was the year that they started out with the Merdeka campaign. And until today, they still have the Merdeka campaign, right? So it's been 30 years. Well, we're celebrating 66 years of Merdeka, but, that was the start of the Merdeka campaign. And at that time, we had Yasmin Ahmad come to do the campaign. And then, of course, on my side in the company I was in, our CEO was also called Yasmin Ahmad. So it was like a Yasmin square team, it was the best team that they could have, a branding and advertising team that was very strong. So I was very happy to have have the experience with Petronas again. And that's where brand strategy, we feel we had done the pilot in Petronas, and the strategy that we implemented, it's called ADAM. It's called ADAM because first you audit. A is for audit, D is for design, A is for act, M is for measure, and then E is evolve. So basically, we take the brand through these 5 phases of branding every year. So we audit it at the beginning of the year, and then we design the marketing campaign that needs to be done. We act upon the creative that comes out, which is through advertising. And then again, we measure based on the feedback that we get from the advertising campaign. And then E is evolve. So for next year, we figure out what didn't work. And this happens every year. And they've been implementing the same strategy since. So why do you think Petronas is so strong now? It's because they've been implementing a strategy that basically evolves every year. And it keeps getting better because they get to know their customers better, make their products better, more quality, more, essential things that they need to hear, and then basically look at the market as a whole. What else do we then offer to the customers? So yeah, that's basically the gist of the strategy that I've implemented for the last 30 years of my career, and has without fail, done a lot of very good things for brands in Malaysia, especially.
Thank you for sharing the framework, ADAME, Adam. And let's drill down a little bit into it. You mentioned just for the brand audit, a lot of companies may have do it every single year, but it's not really doing what really matters to the customers, and you go the route of doing extensive. Could you impart with us and our audience on how do we design the brand audit in a way that it will actually matter, that we can actually use the results to really design and act upon?
Well, first thing is you need to have a database. I mean, data, as you said, marketing is a data-driven business. So one part of the key strategy is knowledge management. So we had a management system that we had put into Petronas on that, and it was on the platform, which was Lotus Notes, and then it went and evolved to .NET. Someone migrated into .NET. So it's basically a database that keeps this research, and that research will be acted upon. So every year after they do research, and of course it was with their partner Nielsen that we could do the market survey, right? And basically what we did was from the market survey, we analyzed the data and then told them this is the campaign that we designed based on the data. So based on that, you would have, right now, they would have 30 years of data. So you can actually search through the 30 years and figure out which key element do you want to hit for your customer. You know, do you want to have an emotional bond with them? Are you trying to launch a new product to them? Are you trying to reach new customers? So each element of the brand is in that database. And it's a searchable database that you can keep. And we don't only keep Petronas's big brand audit data. While we're doing the brand audit for Petronas, we take their top 3 competitors and do a brand audit of their competitors as well. So basically you have Petronas, Shell, and then maybe now it's not BP, but it could be Petron, could be another brand right now. So at all times, you have the data of all your own and also your competitors. You can also see where your competitors are going, because at that time, even Shell was trying to be more environmental, and you could see through their advertisement, they had the Shell with the beach, they had the Shell, so they were going into sustainability. And you could see through their advertising creatives that they wanted to go through that. And then BP had a struggle with that because of the oil spill. And of course, eventually they were one of the competitors running already, because they're no longer in the retail space now. So again, a brand can really mess it up like BP, or that brand can thrive like Petronas. So it depends on where you want to go. And then with that data, you decide, which part of the customer journey. Because again, with marketing, you're trying to hit the customer life cycle journey. You're taking, again, legacy, right? Taking it through the customer may live until they're 70 to 100, right? So how do you make them be loyal to your brand? And then also make sure their children be loyal to your brand and their children. So, again, it's that data that you would have. So when you start having that data is when you can figure out how do you then become the number one brand, or they call it brand of first choice that they want it to be. Yep.
What would, imagine, say there is a company who has, who has been in the market for, say, more than 10 years, but they haven't actually started to collect all this database of research, not having all this data. What kind of data would you see as useful to collect for them to start and see impact?
I think the best thing is looking at their product portfolio. What are the product portfolios that they have currently? Because basically, you either have 4 or 5 main brands, and then you have sub-brands, that you also have that you are trying to reach out to the same customer base. But your main brand, your core brands, which is your core service offering, has to be very strong. So they need to know you for a certain part of their life. So, for example, okay, Coca-Cola is a drink, right? Like in one day, one person can drink Coca-Cola 10 times, or they can drink it never, right? So it depends on where you want to reach them. If you want the one that's gonna make sure that they drink your brand or use your brand more often, you want to know what makes them choose that. And the main thing is you need to know your customers. So look at their preferences. Where are they buying your brands? Which outlets are they going to? So your distribution channels are very important. Is it through, are they going to 99? Are they going to 7-Eleven to buy your brand? Or are they going to supermarket? So it kind of helps you with your business decisions also, because then you can decide, okay, maybe we should scrap this distribution channel that's not working for us. Or we could have more advertising around this outlets, because we know people are going to this outlet to buy our brand. So really knowing your customers and when do they buy, sort of, is it in the beginning of the month? Is it when they get payday? Or is it something that they do every 2 weeks? So really knowing when they're buying your brand. And thirdly is, why are they buying your brand? That's really important. The why is really important. The why could be the after they buy, they feel so happy that they got the great value of buying your brand. They had paid maybe less than a competitor, but they still get the same quality. Or it could even be that they like the ambiance of your retail station, because when they go in, everything's clean, your toilets are clean, the clerks, greet them, and it's all this really small things that you didn't think would matter, that matters to customers. Or maybe they even remember your name, which is even better, So, again, you need to know what will make them come back to you to buy your brand. So, yeah. So that's the key things that you need to know. Again, knowing your customer more and more and more is what will give you the advantage over your competitors. So who can be their best friend is basically what it is. Basically know exactly what will make them want to keep coming closer to your brand. That's basically what it is.
Well, it's like relationship, right? The more over person, the closer they will become. It's just like
yeah, it's true. It's true. It's funny, like people try to build on relationships that are, I think they will like me, and then you give them something they don't really want, then you're actually wasting, marketing dollars on promoting that product or service that they don't. Yeah.
On that note, I want to go to the second, the framework that introduces the design. And it will be great also if you can actually share with us on either the Petronas case or any other cases that you have worked on. So after audit, then we go into design. So how in this design stage, right? What's the usual process? And during this stage, what are the usual challenges that you see?
I think in designing a campaign or designing advertising or promoting the product at that design stage is trying to figure out, okay, you have an X amount of budget, X amount of budget, X amount of resources. How can you translate your objective, which is you want to be able to reach out to your target audience and be able to, it's like content, now you have all your influencers and of course back then they didn't have influencer marketing or, what we have right now with YouTube and all. And the only thing that they had back then was TV and radio and in between newspapers, right? So there was old school traditional marketing and also billboards, right? So the creative had to transcend, not like how right now the you can get to people's mobile phones in a second. As soon as they post a social media post, you get it, basically you get to reach your target audience. And because it's so targeted with digital marketing, You can even prompt when they need you, with cookies and everything. But for the design, you need to figure out, okay, what's going to hit their buttons? What is going to make them cry or laugh or, or say, hey, that was a really good ad. So basically that's what we tried to do when we started with the Merdeka campaign. It made you cry, right? Or made you reminisce or made you think back to, back then. So again, it's trying to pull on that heartstrings. So if it's an advertising campaign manages to pull on your heartstrings, it's actually a successful campaign. So when you're designing that, you have to figure out what's the emotions you're trying to convey or the feedback that you want them to feel after designing the creative. Same with the content that you do right now with digital marketing, same thing. You don't want it to be bland. You don't want it to be, oh, it's just another poster or it's just another post. Every time you are engaging with the customer, you should think it's the only way you can reach them. You have to figure out like you're on an island and you're trying to reach out to your family from miles away. What's the message that you would transcend to them? And that's where you should design the right creative. And you must have the right creative agency that's able to communicate that. And of course, we were brand marketing strategists. We had to brief that to the creative agency. And you have to have that agency that can understand your brief and can understand it firsthand, what you're trying to communicate. Okay, there's one thing that, one incident with even Petronas, but even with the big companies, you have like mistakes happen. But, you learn from the mistakes and then you figure out what will work. At that time, they wanted to promote their Premax brand, which is the brand, the petrol brand. They call it Premax, right? So they had got a racer to come in and do their ad. And in the ad sequence, he would be racing to the station, like as if he came from a race, and then pump his petrol and then race out. All right. When the advertising agency had pitched it to the CEO, he initially said, okay, go ahead, shoot the ad. It looks like it's okay. When it got shot, they shot it and then it took like a few weeks and then spent like maybe 1.3 million or whatever to shoot it. When it went up to the board of directors of Petronas, it got shut down because it said, you know what? The ad didn't shows that we are lax in road safety because we're getting a safe racing car driver driving, really, speeding it into the station. And then, so it was the safety element was something they forgot to put into the ad. They scrapped the ad, didn't use that ad. No one heard about the ad. Only people that were in the background knew about it. So again, big companies still make mistakes on this, even the smallest thing that matter. So sometimes you don't see it. So when designing a creative, you must look at all elements that customers would want, what your brand is supposed to, your brand values. Is it safety? Is it, trusted? What are your brand values? So you need to make sure that your creative is aligned with them.
I like this example a lot because when you were describing that ads to me, I can sense the emotional, the emotions that me came up and so excited, and I was like, I could be like that, right? But when you raise up the idea about safety, I can also see how it might backfire.
Yeah, exactly. And they saved it. They saved it in a sense it didn't come out. So they scrapped it and did a totally new campaign altogether. So they kind of saved and did a totally new campaign from being destroyed and probably destroyed at the press if it were to go out. Yeah.
And what's the you mentioned around, sometimes even big company makes mistakes, choosing the right creative agency is key in design. Is there sort of like a hiring criteria that is in mind when choosing the creative agency?
I think it's the brief. If they can get the brief, it's very important that they understand where from, and also your strategies, that they understand your why you're implementing the strategies at this point in time. Because a lot of people will have a preconceived notion. Oh, I think Petronas should be like this, or it should be like that. But you really need to know the brand inside out before you create a story or even shoot the creative for it. And having that relationship with even the creative director needs to know it. And of course, in creative agencies, the creative director can change over time. So you need to figure out whether that creative director still is the right creative director for the brand. And you need to do maybe every 4 or 5 years, revamp the agency to see whether, or retest the agency to see whether they're the right agency for you or the brand. Because eventually, if you are a 100, 200-year brand, you want to make sure that the loyalty is still there with the customers and that you're still in the life cycle journey that you want with them, and not have an agency that's going to mess up that relationship. So again, the creative that comes out, it can be innovative. It can be very creative, but it has to be still aligned with, again, your brand values.
Awesome. You mentioned brand values actually a few times now. Definitely want to touch on that later on. If we go down to the third one, which is act upon, I'm curious, is there any best practices around the idea around when we are acting and implementing on the plan? Say we started to receive, so we always came up with a plan that perhaps is a longer period of time. But then halfway, let's say there are certain things that doesn't go with our expectations. I'm curious if you actually faced with such scenario before, whereby halfway throughout the plan, there are unexpected scenarios that happen. And how do you go about it? Yeah.
For sure. I mean, like, once, what if the CEO changes, because every time when the CEO changes, they always want something new. So, Petronas, every 2 years that happens. So again, every 2 years you're having to deal with a different leadership that wants to do it their way, or have a different mission for the brand, which shouldn't be the way, actually. Actually, your vision and mission of the brand should sustain. The main vision of the brand should sustain. But maybe for the year, there could be a supplementary vision where they want to go for the year. Maybe they want to improve, or they want to do a mark, maybe making sure that the sales go up. So basically, that vision can change, but the main vision shouldn't change. So, the key brands, the 100-year-old brands like Coca-Cola, like McDonald's, have maintained their vision. Disney, they maintain their vision, being the happiest place on earth. That doesn't change. But maybe like for the year, the CEO may say, now we need to cut costs, and all that, and then make sure that the customers still don't feel the pinch and they still get the same quality and value, but still. So there's another thing that they need to look at with branding, and we call it FD. Not OCD, but FCD. So it's a form, character, and delivery. So form is what you see of the brand. So that could be your logo, your building, could be your, basically what they see on your uniform. It's anything to do with your brand, what they see. So C stands for character. The character of your brand. What is the emotions that they feel about your brand? So when they go into your store, they will buy your brand. They feel happy. Do they feel excited? So the character of your brand can be exemplified with maybe the people at your station or the people in your store or the people that they, when you call them at their call center, that's the character that they would, that your brand embodies. And then D stands for delivery. Delivery is the total experience. So from form and to delivery. So basically, it's your station. So they see your station with your logo and all that. They see your the pump attendants, smiling, and the everything's clean. So the whole total delivery of your brand is the touch point that your customers have with your brand each time that they engage with your brand. So it could be an engagement online. So you see a lot of engagements online now with e-commerce brands like Shopee, Lazada, Amazon. So every time that they're clicking on your app, what do they feel? Do they feel happy or do they feel sad that money is going into their, they're basically going to you? So if this experience from A to Z, from the time that the first time that they see you and then the time that they get the product eventually is a positive experience, we call that a positive FCD. Or it could be a negative FCD. And you need to figure out where the negative red flags are. Is it because maybe your brand doesn't show in your form? Maybe there's no consistency in your character. Maybe one day the person that's smiling at you is no longer smiling at you. So, and then D is whether, you go from one station to the next. Is it the same experience? You go to a McDonald's, it's rare you get a different experience. You kind of expect experience to be the same. And you get disappointed when it's not. So you have to always ensure that the experience is consistent throughout. So FCD is where do you act upon, you may put it up in the ads, we're the best brand or you're getting great value, but, people don't feel that after coming out of experiencing your brand. So you need to fix that really fast because the expectation and the reality has to be very balanced and that people get what they see in the ad. So that's the ad part of the implementation of from design to implementation. So even when the creative agency is working on the campaign, you then have to go down to the nitty-gritty of where the campaign is being implemented, the stations and all that the customer will experience what you're trying, the emotions to be in the advertising. So that's where you need to bridge that. And that's where you figure it out what you need to do. Yep.
On the positive FCD and negative FCD, just now as you mentioned, is it something that you would measure stage after acting on it?
Yeah, that's a part of the audit. Part of the audit is looking at your FCD and looking not only at your FCD, again, you have your competitors' FCD. So in Petronas at their brand department, we had set up a room where they call it a war room because it's called a competitive signaling environment room. It's called CSE room, where all the competitors, brands, advertising, brochures, marketing material, everything is in that one room where you could always have foresight of where they're going and that you are making sure that your brand is standing out from that crowd because, you're always in a crowd. If you're a top brand, you're always in a crowd and hopefully you're not in a crowd where people can't make you out. You want to make sure that you stand out from all the sea of brands that are out. So again, that with that, you would be able to know because you would see it for yourself. Yeah.
Is that like a physical room?
Yes, it's a physical room with LCD screens, which you would be able to pull out, TVC ads, pull out radio ads, pull out, basically anyone can have it. Anyone should have it at their brand department, making sure that you are always know what your competitors are doing. Don't be so, how do you say, narrow-minded that you only need to look at your own data. You need to look at your competitors' data and also new competitors, because there could be new entrant into your industry. Like for now, the oil and gas, they're not just competing with other oil and gas. You're competing with the EV brands now. You're competing with those that are giving electric vehicles. So again, those are your competitors. The people that are vying for your product are the people that are going to say, hey, maybe you are no longer sustainable for us. Maybe you no longer fit our brand values. So then they would just hop into another brand's car and just drive away and say, bye, thank you so much for the last 100 years. And, and then go and be loyal to another brand. So again, your customers are very fickle-minded, and they can be swayed by price, they can be swayed by promotions, and they can be swayed by empty promises. But you need to make sure that you're steadfast in what you are trying to promote or give them in the end of the day. What is it that they're taking back from your brand?
I like how vivid it is to imagine there is the CSD room. Yeah, it's like you're like heightened, right? And I'm curious a little bit more about this room. How does the team actually use it in real life?
Well, again, it's imagine yourself like being in a museum. You have history of certain things that happen, maybe way back, Zaman Chinese, so it's again it's like way back, how did Shell start? How did BP start? How did, so basically all, what the history, because they went through the same history timeline as you, except that maybe theirs could be a faster timeline where they became the number one brand, or now they're number two. So, and you have to keep track with that, with your numbers. The numbers, when I'm saying numbers, is two numbers that are actually very important for you to track is your market share and your mind share. It's like, your mind share and also your goodwill. How goodwill is every year your annual report tells you what your brand value is, right? So making sure that your goodwill and your mind share and market share is always on top is something that you want to make sure that you also know where your because competitors are looking at you too. Don't think they're not looking at you. So, so they always keep track who are the top competitors they're competing with. The more that you have data, the more that you can be top of your game. It's just like how, I guess, Olympic athletes, they go and watch the people that they want to emulate or they want to beat. They will go and see what move will they make, whether they have a service advantage if you're a tennis player, or whether, in football, whether they have the best defense. That's the same thing you do with brands. You really observe what are your competitors doing. The more observant you are, the more you can kind of like be the first to make sure that you get the people's attention.
How do you measure goodwill?
Basically, like for Coca-Cola, for example, if you were to Google what is the value, the brand value of Coca-Cola, right? Basically, they would look at, there's an increase over the years. It could be based on how they're performing, and now I think in 2023, the Coca-Cola goodwill is total at 33.48 billion, but they've been declining since 2021. So again, with a big brand like Coca-Cola, they need to figure out why they're declining. There must be new competitors coming in. It's basically showing you there are hundreds of brands, right? 100 brands in the industry. So they're going to show you who's the big giant, who's the small, and as new competitors come in, of course the big brands are going to lose their brand value. because these new companies are more aware of the trending, what people need. So they need to learn, like, what are the new brands coming in? Well, how do they then make sure there's no decline? So again, Coca-Cola, the last 2-3 years, they've been declining. They need to figure out why. And I feel the reason why it's declining is because people are getting more healthy. So they're more going towards healthier alternatives for lifestyle. Because, Coca-Cola is a lifestyle brand. Even though it's a beverage, people drink Coca-Cola because they can afford it. I mean, why would you drink Coca-Cola when water is free, right? But even water you pay for. So again, so branding again is you pay for the brand. I just had a conversation with a brand owner, a Bayesian brand owner. She owns Chester London. She owns this retail brand that sells bed sheets, and she's from Ipoh. Okay, she's from Perak. And she had built this brand for bed sheets and pillows and all that, and it's called Chester London. And she said it was from the influence of traveling to London and bringing those designs back, the hotel brands that they did with the sheets and the 1,000 thread count. So it's basically, how do you transcend that brand? And she said, now we had to mark down our sheets, from being thousands of ringgit to hundreds of ringgit, because we're competing now with e-commerce, with Shopee and Lazada. You have all kinds of, China brands coming in with 1,000 thread count sheets. So I said, don't see yourself as a sub-brand, a subpar brand. See of yourselves as a brand where you feel that, why would anyone pay so much money for a Chanel bag or a Dior bag or the bigger brand? It's because you're paying for the brand that the experience, the delivery experience, right? So maybe all you need to do is change your packaging, change the quality of your brand, make it a bit more upmarket, maybe cool brand with a hotel, or cool brand with a luxury brand that will enhance your brand. So you must think about, so again, creatives and people at the top, they really need to be innovative at how they brand themselves and look at year to year. Why are you having to lower your prices and try to compete with the low quality producers when you can actually enhance your brand, make it a better product, and charge people more, and they're willing to pay it. They're willing to pay it. I mean, and you need to believe in your brand. The first thing is you need to believe in your brand, that you can give that experience to the customers, and you create the story why they should buy at that price point.
I can see how when companies are using price as the main tool to sort of compete is when they lose sight of using the product itself to compete.
Exactly. And again, it's because they feel so afraid of losing their market share, right? They just want to, looking at the bottom line. But they don't understand that customers, for them, it's like, I use your sheets to go to sleep. That's basically what it is. And then, why would you continue having the same experience with your customers, that they're happy that they're buying your sheets, or they're happy maybe to gift it to someone? That's it. Go into gifting. If that's, you need to pivot your company. Make it a gifting company where you use the sheets as a wedding present, a birthday present, whatever. Again, look at where are you trying to reach your customers. So again, brands have to be very aware of their customers.
And that leads us very nicely to our fifth of the framework, which is evolve. How would you? Is there like a certain steps or best practices that you would recommend for companies to? We are almost at Q4. We're almost at Q4 of the year, so I think this is a good time for a lot of brands to look into how do they evolve next year. And I think if there is any reflection exercises, it should basically start now. what is your advices to companies who would like to, do this step in a proper way so that they can really evolve next year?
I think, again, it goes back to understanding the customers, what drives them. People are more aware now of consumption. People are more aware now about wastage, more aware about future generations. They want to be net zero by 2030, zero carbon, having a future for you want to make sure that the earth lives before, they hit 100, right? You don't want Elon Musk to say, hey, we need to vacate earth and go to Mars in the next 30 years. Because, I have a grandchild who just got born in 2022. I want to make sure that, how we are teaching consumption with retail brands especially is that the brands go with the needs of not only the consumers, but also making sure that it's sustainable. So a lot of companies have got into ESG very big this year, especially. And companies like Volvo has gone strictly into EVs. And why is that? Because the environment is getting blasted left, right, center, that we are not doing enough, or we're not doing it fast enough for our Mother Nature to survive. So basically, now is a stopgap measure where what do brands have to do to ensure that it's sustainable. So in the evolve phase, you need to understand where consumers are now aware, that they're more. They need to be more into recycling. Maybe they need to be more into consuming the right brands that are based, and brand values are usually aligned with their own values. So, your own personal values. So maybe they feel like, I'm not going to spend a lot of money on this brand because it no longer aligns with. You need to be aware what their values are, whether the values have changed. And so your brand evolves with them if you want them to still be your customer. Or not, you would need to find new customers that align with your brand. And that's how the evolve phase works. And that is every year. Find out what actually makes them decide to still be with your brand.
Thanks for sharing with us the ADAM framework. With your experience around branding, right? What do you see as the typical challenges or mistakes a lot of companies may face while they try to build their brand?
I wouldn't say, as I said, you learn from every interaction that you have with us. It's not a mistake because you learn. It's a mistake if you don't learn and you keep pumping dollars into the same thing. So again, I think the main thing that they need to understand is that no, you don't have to have a big budget. A big budget helps in terms of making the creative more creative, or having you to engage with the best agencies out there. But even if you had an internal team of designers, if you had hired one to do your multimedia, one to do your graphic design, and one to do your digital marketing, and one to do the copywriting, that's basically all you need in a brand. SME may not be able to even afford 3 people on the marketing team. So the person that you take in, and it's very important when you interview them that they understand your business, understand what you stand for, and that can be done in the first month of the orientation of this person, of the marketing person, is that they know the ins and outs of your company. And Walmart, which was the first company I worked for, was the best at doing that. And that's why they're still number one. They're a Fortune 500 number one company. And they are like that is because of the way that they've ingrained their culture into the employees. So the first week at Walmart, the first month at Walmart, I wasn't allowed on the store floor until I went through every step that the preceding manager experience. It was like a manual, and it was because it was way back then, everything was not computerized yet. And Walmart was already like quite advanced in their computer database and everything, but it was just like a folder. It was like this thick. It basically gave you a manual of how do you control your inventory? How do you make sure a customer that comes in and complains, what if a customer fell at the parking lot? What do you do? What if the customer came in with a exchange of a present that they got from Christmas that they want to change it? So it was a very detailed in and out of the business of the customer's interactions with the company. And as a manager, what you're supposed to do, what at every scenario, what you're supposed to do. And until I had that manual down pat, I couldn't go to the store floor. Imagine, and I was just the store manager. I'm not the CEO of the company, okay? And what they had was this, they call it a store within a store. Means that anyone who was the store manager of that Walmart store is kind of like you own that store. You are responsible for everything that happens in that store. Whether there's a fire, whether there's someone that's going to get shot. Of course, it was in San Jose, so they were selling guns. So I had to actually get a gun license to be able to sell guns because Walmart sold guns in the sporting goods section. So again, my experiences with them was very vast. But what I learned from Walmart was that they made sure that their employees were prepared in every situation. And I think with brands, you have to be aware of every engagement, every situation, and you need to keep track of their data. Without data, or if you don't keep track of it, how would you know how to face it? It's like an FAQ. It's like a long list of FAQs. What if this happens? What do you do? What if this happens? What do you, so they had that, and they knew that worked because they knew that managers were going to come and go. They knew that the customers are not going to change. Customers are still going to behave the same way, but the managers come and go. So they made sure that each manager was aware of how they dealt with that situation. And I think that is what most companies should have or implement that as a system. That is, of course, HR that needs to do that. Make sure the people are always ready for what they're supposed to. And of course, that wasn't a marketing job. It was more management of people. I felt that was something that was very valuable. And I think that's why Walmart is still number one. Because and of course now they are into this Web3 technology. They're into all this VR technology. So I have no qualms that they'll still be number one because they are so up their game and they work like clockwork. The people that they have there know what they're doing.
That's a really interesting story here. I like the idea around the orientations, know ins and outs of the company and keeping track. Data, like you say, customers don't change, the manager does, right? And that pretty much goes into the loop of what you mentioned. The mistake, literally, or the challenges is you don't learn from.
Yeah, and you track of it. Actually, you keep track of it. You should keep track of the mistakes so that it doesn't happen to another manager. It doesn't happen to another marketing manager. Or doesn't happen to another CEO. And that's also the same way human history. If you notice, the reason why we have so many wars is because all the leaders haven't learned from their mistakes. So if someone had kept a database of what you should or shouldn't do as a leader, then maybe you wouldn't have so many wars.
Yeah. With that, we have reached our very exciting final session, which is we call it the lightning round. I typically have 2-3 questions that I ask to the speaker, right? And for you, I have a special questions for you because you're a mother of 3.
Yeah,
I have a son. If you have a grandkid, you look young. You are in the midst of moving home again. and you're in the midst of, embarking on a new career as well.
Yeah.
How do you manage all this?
Well, I take a deep breath every morning, make sure that I'm ready for the day. I think the main thing is that try to be the best version of myself as a mom, as a daughter, as a employee. I try to be the best version I can at that time, and giving the amount of time to each, I say, role that I play, and that it's not something that I force upon myself. Is that I prioritize making sure that the time is a quality time, and that making sure, and it also time management is really important. I wake up at like 4 in the morning every day, and it's if I don't wake up at 4, I really can't get my day started. So and now that one of my daughters is already married with her own kid, and I was just telling her today, I said, "Come and see me. I haven't seen you in 3 weeks. It's I do miss having her around." And I think a lot of parents forget, that you're gonna grow up and they're gonna leave you and have their own lives. So you really need to make sure when they are with you that you're spending time with them, and that's what I'm doing with my younger two. And I've been privileged to have 3 beautiful girls and now a grandson, which, basically they're the reason why I do what I do every day. And I feel like, whatever decision I make, it's for their lives, future lives. So hopefully they will appreciate or be grateful for that when they grow older.
I read this book, 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma. But now I met you, who is the 4 a.m. Club.
Well, it's more about like, I'm so it's important for me to let them know that I prepared their meals, so that when at lunchtime they know that I took the time to. Sorry.
No, it's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing. It's very inspiring.
Yeah, because I've had a lot of health issues. I've had an open heart surgery. I've had 2 strokes, and I'm just thankful. Thankful I'm here. That's all. That's all. I'm thankful I'm here that I'm able to still spend time with them. Yeah.
I didn't know this part actually. This part of your story, right? And wow, I think during COVID period is also the time where it inspired me to think of life in a different way. But what you just mentioned, what you went through, I can't imagine, but definitely give you a different perspective around the chapter of life.
Yeah, because a lot of people think like, oh, you know what? I have tomorrow. I can see them tomorrow. But what if tomorrow doesn't come? You have to really think, what can you do today that makes it count? And a lot of people don't know that it's important to tell them that you love them, or and all that, because they won't know. Well, if you're gone, how are they supposed to know? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, of course, because I have girls, so we're a bit more bonded in terms of like what we love to do, with makeup and in shopping and everything. But it's just that bond of like telling them, that I'm always there for them. That's important for me. Yeah.
I think there's something here for us, all of us, to learn. And that brings us to our last questions. What is the one marketing book or resources that you would recommend to our audience?
Oh, wow. One marketing book. I guess the one that really resonates with me, I think you need to read. So again, remember I said that I worked for Trax Associates. Well, there's a consulting firm that we built Petronas with, and she had done a book, a brand book. And it basically put in all the case studies in that book and how we managed. So everything that you have heard in my podcast, she had written a book and put into case studies that you can refer to. It's called The Right to Brand by Yasmin American. The Right to Brand, and you can get it in Kinokuniya and MBH and all that major stores. If you can't, you can probably get it on Amazon. And that showcases the case studies in Petronas. And she, even before Petronas, she had done branding of Caltex and all that. So that will be the book that you can use to see how that ADAM process, CSE process, and FCD process work for the clients, and see how they had implemented it and then changed the way they branded up. So The Right to Brand, if they can get a copy of it, that would be the thing that I would recommend.
Thank you, Sheznie. This has been amazing. Thank you for sharing us all the framework. Usually our audience would also want to know if they want to reach out and learn more about what you're up to. Would LinkedIn be the best place to reach out?
Yeah, you can reach me on LinkedIn, or you can reach me at Sheznie@gmail.com, or my phone number. I'm quite open with WhatsApping me because I'm in all kinds of groups anyways. So they can reach out. My WhatsApp number is 017-296-2456. And I would love to hear from them of their own experience with branding and marketing. Maybe there's something I can learn from them, because there's always different scenarios, different customers, different audiences that we want to always reach out to, that they may have had more experience than I have.
Amazing. I love your attitude of, keep learning as well. Thank you so much for listening. If you find this valuable, you can subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Google Podcasts. Also, please consider giving us a rating or leaving us a review, because this really can help other listeners to find the podcast. You can find all the episodes or learn more about this podcast at was.ai. See you in the next episode.